Let's be real. Navigating the world of special education can feel like you've been dropped into a new country without a map and everyone's speaking a different language, right? It's all acronyms, legal jargon, and these super high-stakes meetings. But what if you had a clear map? What if you had a translator? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do here. We're going to turn that feeling of being overwhelmed into true empowerment.
Okay, let's start with the most important thing you need to know. This quote right here, it isn't just some nice, feel-good idea. It is a legal reality, and it's backed by federal law. The entire system is actually built on the idea that you, the parent, are a critical, equal member of your child's team. So let that sink in, because it's the foundation for everything else we're about to cover.
So here's our game plan. First, we're going to define your role as a powerful advocate. Then, we'll break down the huge difference between an IEP and a 504 plan. After that, we'll walk through the process step by step, give you an advocacy toolkit, talk about how to know if the plan is actually working, and finally, wrap up with the legal rights to give you all your power. Let's do this. Look, it's totally normal to feel swamped by all the bureaucracy and the terminology. I get it, but understanding your role is the key to changing that whole dynamic. Federal law doesn't see you as just a guest sitting in on these meetings. It sees you as a required partner, a partner with the right to ask questions, to disagree, and to help shape your child's entire educational journey. Okay, now for the first big fork in the road. You have to know which path your child might be on. Are we talking about an IEP or a 504 plan? They might sound kind of similar, but trust me, they come from totally different laws and they do very different things. Getting this piece right is absolutely crucial. So first up, we've got the IEP. The best way to think about an IEP is as a legal contract. It's all governed by a big federal law called the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, or IDEA. And it's for students who have one of 13 specific disabilities. And, this is the important part, who need specially designed instruction. The two words you really got to latch onto here are special instruction. It means we're actually changing how the content is taught.
Now, on the flip side, you've got a 504 plan. This comes from a civil rights law, not an education law. Its main job is to provide access and get rid of barriers by using accommodations. So think of things like getting extra time on a test or sitting at the front of the class. It's not about changing the instruction itself, it's about making sure the student can access the same education as everybody else, and it covers a way broader range of issues.
Putting them side by side like this makes it so much clearer, right? You've got the IEP under IDEA, which is all about that specialized instruction. Then you have the 504 under civil rights law, which is all about access. You can see the eligibility rules are different too. So if you remember one thing, remember this. An IEP changes how a child is taught, while a 504 changes how they access what's being taught. All right, so you know the difference between the plans, but how do you get one? You know, the process can feel like a total mystery, but it really does follow a clear, legally defined path. So let's pull out that roadmap and see exactly how this works. Here are the basic stages. It all kicks off with a referral, which you, the parent, have the right to make at any time. And here's a pro tip: always make that request in writing. It creates a legal paper trail that you might need later. After that, the school does an evaluation, the team figures out eligibility and builds the plan, the school puts it into action, and then, at the very least, you review it once a year. You know, knowing the process is one thing, but being a truly effective advocate inside that process, that's another beast entirely. So this section right here is your toolkit. We're going to equip you with the right words to use and the awareness you need to make sure the process is actually working for your child, not against them. It is so easy to feel intimidated in those meetings, to just sit there and nod along. But I'm telling you, asking just a few precise, informed questions can completely change the direction of that meeting and, more importantly, the quality of your child's plan. Now, what's so powerful about these questions? They completely shift the conversation. When you ask what data drove these decisions, it moves the discussion from just opinions to actual evidence. Asking if goals are ambitious challenges the low expectations that can creep in. And demanding to know how you'll see the data, that makes it crystal clear you expect real accountability. These are total power questions. Okay, now for the flip side. Just as important as knowing what to ask is knowing when to worry. If you see any of these red flags, it's a huge sign that the process might be more about the school checking a box than actually collaborating. I mean, think about it. A plan written before the meeting even starts? That's not a team effort. and vague goals that just get copied and pasted year after year, that's stagnation, not progress. You have to trust your gut. If you feel rushed or like you're being dismissed, that is a major, major red flag.
So, you've gone through the whole process. You have a plan in place. Great! But how do you actually know if it's working? A plan is just a piece of paper if it isn't leading to real, measurable growth for your kid. And this is where progress monitoring becomes absolutely everything.
I want you to just let this sink in for a second. The goals, the services, all those accommodations, they're all just educated guesses. They're hypotheses. The data you get from progress monitoring is the evidence that tells you if those guesses were right. Without that data, you are completely flying blind. And you know, not all data is created equal. Good progress monitoring happens often, like weekly or bi-weekly. It should be visual. Give me a graph that shows my child's growth. And it has to be used to make decisions. If all you're hearing are these wishy-washy phrases like, oh, he's making progress, or you only get a report at the end of the year, that's poor monitoring. You have every right to demand the data, the charts, the proof.
And that brings us to the foundation of all of your power. Everything we've talked about, your role as an advocate, your right to ask those tough questions, your demand for real data, it's all backed by the full force of federal law. These aren't just suggestions from the school. They are your legally protected rights.
Just take a look at these. Think about how powerful this is. You have the right to kickstart the whole process. You have the right to say yes or no to what the school proposes. And this one is huge. If you disagree with the school's evaluation, you have the right to request an independent one, paid for by the public. And you can call a meeting whenever you feel like you need one. You don't have to wait a whole year. These rights make sure you are never, ever just a passive observer. And finally, I really want you to hear this. Advocating for your child is hard work. It's draining. And you might start to worry that you're being difficult or that you're that parent. Let me tell you, you are not. You are being the parent the law empowers you to be, and you are being the advocate your child needs you to be. You are doing exactly what your child deserves. So as you move forward from here, I want you to ask yourself this one simple question. Is the plan you have, or the plan that you're fighting for, is it truly opening doors to new skills and new opportunities, or has it just become a label that sits on a box and excuses a lack of progress? Your advocacy, your voice, that is what makes all the difference between those two things.